Okay, in this next video, we're going to talk about measuring angles using a protractor. So this little thing here is a protractor. If we were doing this in person, you would actually hold a physical little plastic one. You've probably seen those in your little geometry cases. These help us measure angles. So this first angle is very straightforward. We see the 0 is here. Since this is the 0, and this is the most confusing part for kids, although for this one it'll work anyway, but this one down here and this one it wouldn't. If you read the numbers in this lower sort of rainbow arc, you have to have the 0, you're starting with this 0. If you want to read the numbers in this upper arc, you're starting with 0 over here. And the reality is the line is touching this 0 over here, so we have to start with the lower arc. That'll make more sense on the next one. So we start there, we go up, the line goes through, very obviously, 90 degrees. So we would say this is 90 degrees. For the next one, I always encourage kids to recognize, because you get really good at this is an acute angle. It's small, so we know it's going to be less than 90 degrees. Because, as I just said, the line goes through the 0 in this lower arc, that's the numbers we're going to read. So we go up and it goes through, but it's between 30 and 40. So when I look over, that's probably like 31, 32, 33, 34. I'm going to say 35 degrees. 35 degrees, which makes sense because it's less than 90. The most common mistake that kids will make is they will go up and they will read this and they might say, oh, it's 145 degrees. They might say it's 155 degrees. That doesn't make sense because it's an acute angle. It has to be less than 90. So we think, okay, here's the 0. We read this set of numbers. Down here, I'm glad this example works over here because we see the line is going through this 0. So that means we have to read the upper arc worth of numbers. So we already know this is obtuse, so it's going to be bigger than 90. So it makes sense that I'm reading this as it's between 140 and 150, 144 degrees. Always ask yourself, does it make, that's going to be degrees. Does it make sense? Here we have 2 more examples. So I'm looking at my protractor. I noticed that the line goes through the 0 on the upper arc, so that's the numbers I'm going to read. I registered or read it at 30 degrees, which makes sense because it's acute. It's smaller than 90, 30 degrees. Down the bottom here, I notice it's slightly bigger than 90, so this would be obtuse. 0 is on the the upper arc, so I'm going to follow those numbers. It's between 90 and 100. I think that looks nice. 95 degrees. 95 degrees. 2 final examples. So in this one, I noticed that the 0 is the bottom arc, so I'm counting up. Looks like 35 degrees again, which makes sense because it's acute. And this last one here, I automatically notice it's obtuse. I know it's going to be bigger than 90. The 0 is going through the lower arc, so those are the numbers I'm going to count. It's between 140 and 150. Looks like 145. 145. Don't make the silly mistake that you look at this and you go over and you say, oh, it's between 30 and 40, it's 35. That doesn't make sense because it's obtuse. Okay, think about what you're doing. Good luck.